talked about that some last week. We didn't get a chance to actually talk about the other one, like the exclusivity trap. This is the second of the pitfalls. And that's one I see a lot of people tripped up by. The whole idea that, our religion is it. All the other religions of the world are false. Only this one religion is the true religion. And that is a terrible trap to find yourself in. And once you're in there, it's a tough place to get out of. Think of it like a big hole, and you're down in the bottom of that hole, a pit. And that's the name, pitfall.
I'm the only way. You have to believe me and my way, and my way is the only way, or the highway. Exactly. I'm the only one that knows what's going on. I'm the only one that has and that's where they fall deep into it's a delusion that they are the only one with the only way and the only likes and dislikes, and they're the only important one that knows because they experienced this, that, and the other. And you can't do that, folks. You have to keep a very open mind and know that everybody feels the same way inside somewhere, that they know they want to be right. They want to know that their thinking is right with the all. And if they start doing that and separating themselves from reality and the consensus and understanding a general reality, that can make you very ill. And I've seen a lot of people with a psychosis and a delusion that they are the only way, the truth, and the light, and their way is the only way. But now you're saying that if you separate yourself with all these people, that if you can find people, believe it or not, and convince them to believe exactly like you. And exactly we know that people do that and have created so many church or groups, because farmers especially, what else did they have? They didn't have all the fancy things to go do. They believed in you get up with the sun and you go to bed with the dark, when the sun goes down, and then you work your farm so you can eat and take care of yourself, and then you get up the next day and do the same thing. But they pretty much believe in this country that on Sundays they didn't work. They went down and they socialized and had dinners outside the churches. I know because I lived out in the country for 20 years, and I saw all these churches around all the coal mines of Kentucky, and there was like little churches. In most of the cities traveling to the United States, there are more little churches than anything else. And that's because that used to be all they did. They didn't have televisions. They didn't have radio. They didn't have, even some of the churches were the schools for the children. So it used to be the churches were everything. They were the social club, as my husband said. He told me growing up they were, because his father was a preacher, they were social clubs. But that proves that even back then we needed something besides work and sleep, to me, that we had to come together, build a barn or go to church. Then we started having all the little cities that some could do bartering, like with the Indians, right? And would barter for beads, or they'd barter for alcohol, I guess. I don't know who started that, the Egyptians, I guess. But anyway, we've come a long way since those days. But the basics are we need comfort. We need to be accepted by each other, by those outside. We need validation. And we've learned to do this even in cyberspace. So, Bill, do you have anything in there about cyberspace, or how is this good enough? Because my children are texting and getting in arguments and stuff. I shouldn't keep referring to my own family, but that's what's going on with me now at 67 with children in their 40s. But, they get mad at each other and they come back, and I told them, stop texting. And I told them, I hate texting. Now, people, I was raised by educators. My mother was an educator, and her mother was an educator, and her mother was an educator, and all the way up into New York, into the original. My great-grandmother was on the school board in New York City, okay? So we've got history back to, making of America. But the thing is, you can only learn so much, but you still need people. And I'm not happy with my family because we have problems, but you know what? when you're working with somebody outside yourself, you're going to have problems. That's what I've learned, because we don't all agree. We just don't. Each human with another human, and oh my gosh, it's hard to be on here, and people believe God's not going to come back again in some of the people's mind until we all agree that we're all need to be saved. That's one of the things I hear a lot, until we all realize that we're all sent here and we're not perfect. In other words, we are not source. We are not God. We're just little drops in the ocean of God, or we're just little pieces of God. But go ahead. What is this open walk? Keeping an open mind, but still realize we need others?
Well, that is indeed part of it. And we need to look at a lot of different ideas. If you only have your one religion that you were raised in, and that's all you're ever willing to even look at, then you're never going to understand people of other religions. You have to look at what they believe. You have to study everything, all of the religions of the world, all the philosophies and schools of thought, belief systems. Look at them all. Compare and contrast. And when you do that, you'll find what I call the three discoveries. The three discoveries are: there'll be differences, there'll be similarities, and there'll be commonalities. You're not going to find everything in common. You're not going to find everything is different either. And you are going to find things that are just similar, but not quite the same. So you'll find all three of those. And it's how we greet those three discoveries that makes all the difference. You have to learn to appreciate the differences, comprehend the similarities, and focus on the commonalities. If we can do those three things with those three discoveries, then we can find harmony, even when we have beliefs that are radically different from one another. We can still find harmony if we can learn to appreciate those differences, comprehend the similarities, and focus on the commonalities. So I think that's
and have
very,
you thought
very
about,
important.
People like each other and tend to flock together. They say birds of a feather flock together. How many people do you know that want to be with you in a group? Are you challenged because you're too different? And we're all unique, but there's an arrangement that we can make and have agreements with each other, even if we're hybrids, meaning the offspring of two other distinct species. But, we can learn what is it that we can do together to make us better. If it's not serving you, it can be a benefit or a burden. In each person, are you a benefit or are you a burden? If we're in service to others, what are you doing? Are you helping others really by complaining all the time? Do you, are you just like, do you say you this and you that, and you don't do this and you don't do that? And people, if you want to get along with others, you really don't want to start pointing the finger and saying you. Right, Bill? You don't like that, do you, Bill? You trying to tell you how to live. You can suggest it. You can say I if it was me. But, Bill, do you have any people skills in communication? The best way to how to win friends and influence people.
As I was doing the final edit on my book, I looked through and I found places where I used the word you, and that's when I realized, no. That's accusative when you say you something. What I had to do was change all those to we.
Oh, you really did edit your book?
Oh, of course. Yeah, and I had other people look at it too, along with me.
Take the yous out first of all.
I took the yous out and replaced them with we's, because we're all in this together. It's not just you and me or you or me. It's we. It's all of us.
Boy, more families should know that it's a we. We're learning we are a family. I've noticed the kids smile. You say we can do this. We are prophetic, or we are greater in number. We will survive if we treat our species, or in each genus, a way to make sure that we have children that will procreate and keep our bloodline alive, our genes alive, And a lot of people don't have children, and how do their bloodline will gradually fade off. If there's no children to follow them, there's no generation to come after them. So what happens to those people? Do they just fade off of the earth? I think so.
Yep.
Unless their brothers or sisters have children. Go ahead.
It's important for those folks to be creative. See, I've got no children. So it's part of the reason I'm creative. I'm producing lots and lots of art. I'm producing this writing. I'll be remembered after I'm gone for what I've written and for the art I've produced. So while I haven't produced an offspring, I have produced something that will hopefully have some kind of an impact. I hope it'll have a positive one. That is my goal, for the impact to be a positive music.
I was creating books and putting them in the internet and cyberspace, and I've learned that a lot of my websites, I've had probably 300, 400 websites in my lifetime since, we went like towards 2000, but they get flattened. And so all the information we read in cyberspace, we think it's going to be there forever. It's not. You hear it's going away, or you hear that it's being kept forever. But really, is it? Because you have to get into the certain places in space, and even those will be flattened. So, if we don't pay the money and keep our websites up and pay for the storage at which cost, it goes away. It falls off. I've had a lot of things just deleted. You become deleted like people. So the knowledge of the news out there, and that's sort of scary. Even our artwork. Go ahead.
Back in 2007, I started publishing stuff online at a website called Tryon. And Tryon was around for quite a while, but they ultimately went out of business. And when they did, all the articles and all my art that I had published online with them, like you say, it all just disappeared. It all went away. And it was very disappointing because, it was actually a small source of income for me. They were a site that did what they call a pay per click. So for every time somebody would click on the article and look at it, they would give me a percentage of the advertising revenue that was the advertisements that were on that page. So there was one of my images of the name Psychedelic Dude that was, as the name suggests, a very psychedelic image, one of my fractal images. And it was just incredibly popular. It had reached a point where you do a Google search on that name, it was the first link that would come up. So it was good. It was actually making me some money, but now it's not. So I need to find another site like Tryon and start getting more stuff back out there. But all those articles, I had several articles I wrote. Several of them I actually converted into chapters, and this book, The Open Walk, has some of those as chapters. And in a future book that I'm writing, I'm actually working on more than one future book right now, so it may take a while since I'm kind of dividing my energies between multiple projects. But one of them is about the cosmic collective consciousness. So I wrote a whole series of articles about that, and all of them together actually makes a book, all those articles together, but I am going to have to expand upon it and kind of update it based on new information. Because after all, like I said about the open walk, as new information comes to light, you have to go back and refine your theories and your ideas. Because sometimes that new information will actually contradict your theory. And if you ignore that new information and say, no, I'm going to go with my theory, whatever, then that stubbornness does not serve you. And that takes away the purity from the process. We talked about that, I think, in the last show, about the katharinosis process. And that is simply Greek words for purified knowledge of the infinite, or knowledge of the source. So, kathari meaning purified, and gnosis meaning knowledge of God or knowledge of the universe, of the infinite. So when you go through that process, You're seeking to purify your understanding. You're seeking to purify your enlightenment. And it's an ongoing process.